With the Flames shipping Jacob Markstrom to New Jersey, who will be the next Flame put out?
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Today, we are going to continue down the path of who could be the next Flame out. There are a number of players that the Flames could move on from, and we're going to begin to unpack two that would be significant losses for the Flames, and you're going to want to stick around for that, as well as who could they bring in to be a little bit of a mentor for our rookie goaltender, Dustin freaking Wolf. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get in your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your team every day. When thinking about these next moves, it's hard not to think as a fan, right? Like, I never thought I would want to trade Mangiapane, or I don't want to trade him, but be in favor of that happening and like being okay with it. And certainly not the other player that we're going to talk about here in a second, or even Jacob Markstrom. Like, I would never think that would have been like, if you told me that they traded Jacob Markstrom back in 2022, I would say you're wrong. And then I would be wrong. But the Flames are in a very different situation now than they were 2 seasons ago. A lot has changed. Obviously, the catalyst for all of this being the departures of Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk. And in a way, that forced the Flames' hand. And while I would still love to have them on this team, do not get it twisted, I think it could be for the better in the long run, just because they have needed to do this for a long time. They needed to do this and really build around Gaudreau and or Tkachuk. They needed to blow up the core a few years ago, 5-6 years ago now at this point. But we're going to be talking about Rasmus Andersson up here first. I can't avoid it forever. Rasmus Andersson is obviously a top pairing defenseman that any team would, like, they'd be stupid not to target Rasmus Andersson. He is fantastic. Obviously last year was a little bit tough for him, coming back from that significant injury after being hit by a car, but like, he still had his moments. He is going to be a UFA at the end of the 2024-2025 season. He'll be 28 years old at that point, and the Flames don't need to lock up another I'm sorry. He will be a UFA at the end of the 2025-2026 season. Cap friendly didn't load all the way. But it's very it's tough, right? Like, he's been your number one pairing defenseman for a while. He has come up through your organization. He is one of the few players left that you have drafted that has kind of really blossomed into a really solid player. And it's just not reasonable for the Flames to extend a 29-year-old defenseman long term. Could it be a 3-4 year deal, sure, but I don't think Rasmus Andersson would want that. I think that it would be so much smarter to do this. He has a modified no trade clause for these next 2 seasons. So obviously July 1st, he'll submit a 6-team no trade list. I would imagine there are some, I would assume there's some good teams on there that it would make sense to completely avoid for whatever the reason. But any team that is looking to bolster their defense, especially before the playoffs, would be smart to trade for Rasmus Andersson. You probably get a little bit of a haul for him, I would say. Again, I am not someone that is confident in packaging trades or assessing what a return would be, but I do have a feeling it would be like the Elias Lindholm trade, if not a little bit more, because he is a first pairing defenseman. He plays on special teams. He's good. And if he really finds his footing again this year, uh, and starts shooting the puck more, things could really be um, in his favor. And again, another one of these players that like you want to see succeed. And I think that I don't think it's unreasonable to expect a Rasmus Andersson trade, or to at least hear rumblings of this. Um, it's it is beyond unfortunate that it has to come to this. But I'm also on the same side of, you need to cash in when you can right now. And unfortunately, Rasmus Andersson is one of those players, along with the next guy we are going to talk about, and that is going to be Andrew Mangiapane. What are we going to do if there is no longer the Blake Coleman, Mangiapane, and Backlund line? I feel like as a society, we wouldn't know what to do. But then again, that brings out an opportunity for new assignments and new line combinations that could actually be very exciting. And we will be right back after this. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, with last-minute killer deals, all-in prices, view from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I used Game Time to go see the Flames play on Long Island, where they won 5-2, and Mackenzie Weegar had a hat trick. And shout out to Game Time for making that happen, because I was able to see my view from my seats, and that all-in pricing made it such a less stress, like a stress-free experience and ticket purchasing experience. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know what to expect before you even step foot in the arena. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss a show. What I forgot to mention before was Rasmus Andersson's salary. He is currently making $4.4 million or $4.5 million for these next 2 years, and he's going to want a raise. So you have to think about that as well. Even with the cap going up, Could you do it? Yes. Do you want to do it? Probably not. I have talked about this trade target a lot. Probably even since really this past trade deadline, and that would be Andrew Mangiapane. Mangiapane is a good addition to your middle six. I think if he has more opportunity, he will find more success. It is just a matter of getting him there. I could absolutely see him succeeding through a playoff run and just really getting to where he has been in the past. And the Flames should want to cash in on this. He's making $5.9 million for through the end of this season. He'll be 29 in April, and he's due for an extension, and it sounds like he doesn't want to stay. So flip him while you can so you can get the assets that you need and desire, and that you can put into other trades to acquire other players. Craig Conroy said that the Flames are going to have to acquire players through trades in the draft. Free agency used to be a method that they could acquire players, but not anymore. They're going a very different route, which I think is smart. I think that this is a very smart approach, and it's a different shift in mentality and philosophy, and that is what we have seen. Obviously, Craig Conroy doesn't always have the final say. There are people above him, and ultimately, those are the decision makers. However, they also, I mean, they're billionaires. They're not exactly in touch with reality, but they have to see the depreciating value of this hockey team if it continues to go down this path. But back to Mangiapane. If you get him on a good team, surround him with the right players, um, you have a solid chance of adding a depth player there, and he can be good. We have seen him be good. Is he going to be consistent? Probably not. That is one of my biggest drawbacks here is the inconsistency, and unfortunately that is something you're going to find with a lot of players. It happens, but again, he would be a great addition to, I think the Rangers, maybe the Hurricanes. I could see Boston targeting him. Maybe, maybe Tampa. Who knows, right? I think that he is a player that is highly sought after because what he lacks offensively, he makes up for in that defensive side of his game. And I really have been drawn to that about Mangiapane. I think that he's a strong two-way player. When I first started hosting this podcast, I joked saying he would win the Selke Award when it was renamed after Patrice Bergeron. So I'm not does it make sense for the Flames to try to extend him or even if it's short term? No. Does it make sense for them to trade him, acquire those assets, and send him off to his merry land wherever he chooses? Well, he doesn't really have a choice. He doesn't have I don't believe he has a modified no trade clause or anything like that. So it's all about getting the most bang for your buck. And it's very difficult to sometimes see it especially as a fan, this is a business and it's entertainment and we know that all these things happen, but you have to think about what can you get for this player? Mangiapane can be a solid goal scorer. He has that defensive side to his game, and he's not entirely a liability, especially with penalties. So you have a lot of good things going for you there. It's just how much do you want to give up for him? I think a late first round pick would work. I don't know if you're getting a prospect. I think you're either getting a prospect or maybe a second. Um, I'm not entirely sure if you're getting both. I guess it depends how he comes out of the gate. But right now, I would say you're probably getting a late first or second round pick. Um, Again, full disclosure, I am not a general manager, and I have no idea how to appropriately value and assess not only players, but vehicles or houses. I don't know. So I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think the Flames could get Mangiapane for, or what they could get for Mangiapane. I do think Rasmus Andersson would be the player you're getting more for out of these two players. They both had really down years, but I think you can look at Rasmus Andersson's resume there and say, well, considering he was hit by a vehicle, it makes sense why he had a tough year. Like, and then that happened, and then his wife gets pregnant, and there's a lot of outside stress outside of the hockey rink that is, weighing on his brain. So, like, just trade him. I saw, um, I've seen people putting together trades to Utah. Could Utah be on one of those, one of his lists as a no trade? Um, Simply because you don't know what the heck is going on in Utah. You don't like, to me, there's no stability. Like, it's very inconsistent, I guess. Like, it's not stable. I mean, it's not as unstable as Arizona, of course, because you actually have an arena to play in, but it feels uncertain, at least in this first year. I think that I would probably put them on that list, and we can speculate all about what teams are on that list, or are going to be on that list. I would love to know. So, Rasmus Anderson, or if your agent's listening, you can send me your no trade list. I won't leak it. I promise. I just want to see it. Just want to know what's there. I'm so nosy. Absolutely do not listen to this podcast, and I don't blame them. But coming up next, we are going to talk about some veteran goaltenders that the Flames might be able to bring in to help mentor their next superstar. But before we dive into all of that, I do want to take a quick break here and talk to you about a super cool app that, or a mobile game that I have quite enjoyed, and that is Ultimate Hockey GM. Locked On Flames fans, I want to take a moment to talk about this because it is fun. Have you ever dreamed of becoming an NHL general manager and managing your hockey franchise? Do you ever think you could run the Flames better than Brad Treliving or Craig Conroy or maybe even Daryl Sutter? Well, your dream can come true, and this game is most definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the season, and lead it to glory. Hire the right coaches and staff, trade players or draft picks to navigate through free agency and the draft, all in a challenging and realistic game world. As a Flames fan, you know that there is absolutely no off season. We go round the clock all year long. General managers are constantly making moves at any point of the year to improve their team's chances, and that's why I think you're going to love the game. Ultimate Hockey GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want. By the way, Locked On Flames fans, Locked On Network listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using promo code Locked On NHL in the game store. So make sure to check it out. Download the game on your respective app store or visit hockeygm.app to look it up. Ultimate Hockey GM. Start your dynasty today. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts and follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. With Jacob Markstrom gone, we are here. We have waited for Dustin Wolf to make that jump to the NHL, and he's here. However, there has been conversation about bringing in a veteran goaltender. Why would you do that when you have Dan Vladar? Dan Vladar doesn't provide the same maturity and experience as a seasoned goaltender. And I wanted to take a look at some of these players because, everyone has their own opinion, and I think that the most obvious choice here is once upon a time, a Flame, Cam Talbot. Cam Talbot is 36 years old, and he is not. I can't like. He is not a UC Saros. He is not like a Linus Olmark. He's not commanding the free agent market, or he wasn't really at the trade deadline like those two other goalies were. He has floated around a lot. He was with the Flames prior to them signing Jacob Markstrom. Him and David Riddick, they were a tandem here and in LA. I think that Cam Talbot is just someone that is high. Like, I think he is highly respected. And I think that mainly comes because he is, he's had a long career, and he is very poised, and he is very, he hasn't let like any of this rattle him. And I think that that's great. I think, having someone that isn't necessarily like your star goaltender, that's probably a good person to learn from, because they know how to handle the ups and downs, mainly the downs. And we know that the Flames, like, it's in really any rookie goaltender, unless you're like, I don't know. I'm sure Connor Hellebuck and UC Saros had tough rookie years too, but like, you aren't going to jump into this thing and be as good as you were in your developmental leagues, which we've seen with Dustin Wolf. And I'm sure he had, it's not all on the backup goaltender or goalie coach, whatever the case may be, to control this and like lead his emotions. But I think it's important to remember that, like, you need a mentor. There's a reason there's vets in the room, and it's not like you can go to a forward and be like, "Hey, like, how do I handle this?" Like, how do I read this differently? What, like, it's a very different situation here, and I don't hate the idea of bringing back Cam Talbot on a 1-year deal. Apparently, John Gibson's name has floated around. I don't think that that's necessary. I don't. They're not trading for Linus Allmark. Why? Like, that's not even a thing. Please don't. He's going to Ottawa and has already waived his no move clause. Okay. That is a choice. Uh, Samsonov of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm sure he's a wonderful human being, but no one really knows down quite like a Toronto Maple Leaf goaltender. He was supposed to be like the next guy for Washington. And it's always hard when you see players not meet that expectation and then they kind of fade into the background a little bit and you become a backup. I don't think that's necessarily, knock on wood, the case here for Dustin Wolf. I think that if he's poised for greatness, I do think. But again, it's about setting players up for success. I really just think Cam Talbot's one of like the better choices here. David Riddick, 31 years old. He has had a little bit of injury recently, and I think that David Riddick is a very interesting goaltender because he is someone who is hot-headed. And anyone that says like goalies are normal, they're lying to you. Um Jeremy Swayman saying he's not weird. He's weird. Uh, wanting to fight players and just staring at them is weird. But no, I think David Riddick is somebody who knows the Calgary organization, obviously. And he is someone that knows a thing or two about losing and just how to ground yourself and to reassure yourself because you can only do so much as a goaltender. Like let's be honest here. We all know that. And he has had like mental health coaches or mental health specialists and what, like, I don't know the right word. But he has had, a good support team there, more than just, a sports psychologist. So it's neat. I think that is another option, and I think because of the connection, he might be open to coming back. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Kevin Lincoln would be an interesting fit. Only 29. Only 29. He's a goaltender. He's a hockey player. um, I think that any sort of goaltender here is gonna be a good option. He played with Seattle for a little bit. Oh wait, no, I lied. He played with Nashville. I don't know why I said Seattle. But he did struggle a little bit in Nashville. Marc-Andre Fleury, no, he isn't he technically in Minnesota for another year? Didn't he resign? Martin Jones, don't think we need to do that. James Reamer, do not employ Casey DeSmith on this team. Thank you so much. Antti Ranta could be an interesting thing here. Interesting pick simply because, again, another veteran goaltender that knows a thing or two about the ups and downs and could be a real great person to learn from. Again, it's the intangibles, and he's an okay goaltender, but who knows what the Flames might pull off this offseason. Ryan Leslie said, "Don't sleep on July 1st." The Flames are going to be cooking, so let's get prepared. But thank you everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. I hope you have had a fantastic week and have enjoyed the beginning of the Dustin Wolf era. It's the end of the Markstrom era, but we are embarking on something we have all been waiting for quite some time. So I will see you all tomorrow. Stay safe, stay warm, stay dry, stay hydrated, put on some sunscreen, and remember to be kind.